Hello, everybody. Tracy, Mrs. JDog Flanagan here with you today. I'm the co-founder and senior vice president of JDog Brands, and I would like to welcome you to Tactical Treasures, a podcast sharing the stories of veterans and military family members that have been impacted by specific items in their lives. I will be interviewing voices in the veteran space about objects and moments that they turned into tactical treasures for their military career, business, or life. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Jason Johnson. Jason honorably served in the United States Army as a military police officer, where he received numerous awards and recognition throughout his assignments for his service. He is the founder of Canine Hero, which we will discuss more about today. Welcome, Jason. Thank you so much for being here. I am so excited to talk to you.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be on the show.
Right. So I know we know each other. We actually met
Yep.
at the 52 bicycle card event, and I was so excited to get to know you and to hear kind of about your mission with Canine Hero. And I mean, veterans and dogs, and like you have me all day, right? That's just what near and dear to my heart. So I would really love to hear for our listeners how Canine Hero came to be and what it's all about.
Yeah. Like you said, I served in the Army. And after I got out of the Army, I became a civilian police officer where I served another 10 years. I was a SWAT canine handler. And I was on the SWAT team and I handled a narcotics detection dog. Got really good at that, become a trainer, started working other dogs, started my own business on the side called Canine Solutions International. Got a bunch of different contracts helping keep school systems safe and from drugs and guns and explosive devices. And I got an opportunity to go overseas. And when I went overseas, I worked for the ambassador of the United States in Iraq. I was an explosive detection dog handler for them. And I also worked in Afghanistan. I spent a few years doing that. Once I got done with that, I got out of Afghanistan. I came to the ATF in Washington, D.C. area, Virginia. And I instructed somewhere around 2,000 police canines and military working dogs that help find explosives and keep not only America safe, but our foreign allies safe.
Wow.
And from there, I went over to Homeland Security, worked with the passenger screening program, the dogs you see in the airport, searching
Mhm.
passengers for explosives. And that was the first 24 years of my career. And during that time, I realized all these dogs that I was helping, whether it be in the military I worked with them at, or the police department, or overseas in Iraq, Afghanistan, or the federal government, there was no programs in place to help them in retirement. We as veterans have a VA program. We can go to the VA hospital, we can get treatment, we can get prescription medicine. Well, the dogs don't have that. In fact, we've come a long way with the dogs, from the Vietnam era, where we're making sure they come home, we're making sure they're getting to stay with their handler, that we're doing a great job of that. But where we're failing as a nation is we're not making sure that they have medical care in retirement.
Mm.
And whoever basically essentially adopts the dog, whether that is a sergeant in the Marine Corps, whether that is a state trooper, a deputy sheriff, whatever it may be, those financial responsibilities fall on them. So I started Project Canine Hero in 2016, and I wanted to have a nonprofit that can be a resource for these first responders and these military members, that if their hero comes down with lymphoma, cancer, any type of special needs just they can't afford, that they can reach out to our nonprofit and we'll be here to help them financially, not only with medical care, food, death benefit assistance, but also help dogs that find themselves without a home in retirement with rehabilitation, rehoming, and adoption.
That's fabulous. You really don't. I I think that, I mean, now, as you said, I think it's becoming more known that our military working dogs, whether they're working in canine units or whether or not they're military dogs deployed over in Afghanistan and Iraq, that they are service members and they deserve to the same benefits that our the human service member has, and be able to get the same type of care and be able to retire. I did have one question. So when the dog is retired, whether it's a canine, having worked in done police work or over serving deployed as a part of a canine unit over in uh, military zones, do they definitely stay with their handler? Or is it kind of a combination of them just being adopted? are they necessarily adopted by a former service member, a veteran, or could they be adopted by just a regular family? Like, how does all that work?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we'll start with the police canine units, the ones we see here in the United States, state, local, federal, city police canine units. I would say the majority, well, probably around 90% or more, stay with their handler because those they're a little more stable. They
Right.
live in the community.
Mhm.
We have found some in our program, whether that person was getting a new dog, didn't get along with the family, was getting into another profession, maybe 10% or so that do need to be rehomed or adopted. In most cases, they try to find someone that they knew or a family member. But we have 10 dogs here today at our facility in Tennessee who didn't have a home to go to, and some of those are going to be euthanized. A lot of them are behavioral issues. They have certain aggression issues. So we have several of just the police canines here with that. But I will say a high percentage do stay with their handlers, and so we're helping the 10% or less that need to be rehomed or adopted, and then we're helping all the other ones that have the special needs. So we're still going to help them with their medical care, even if they stay with their handler. Or it could be it could be you and your husband adopt a police
Mm.
canine or a military working dog. We would still help you. It's not the person's background, it's the dog's
The
background.
dog's background,
And
right,
so we'll get a little bit more into the military side of it. You'll see more in the military need adoption because military members move around.
right.
We'll take military working dog Rosso, who's here today. He's been at our facility for over a year, and I'll just give you a little background on Rosso and how he ended up here.
Mhm.
Rosso served for 9 years in the United States Air Force. He retired out of Fairchild Air Force Base in Spokane, Washington. He protected the last two presidents, President Trump and President Obama. He did over 10 Secret Service missions. He protected the president in Japan. He was deployed overseas in Qatar and Kuwait with Operation Inherent Resolve. He was a patrol explosive detection, canine,
Mm.
and he is a recipient of the United States Air Force Commendation Medal. But when he retired, his handler had a 6-month-old child, and he's
Mm.
still active duty Air Force. He was getting a new dog.
Mhm.
His wife had never been accustomed to being around Rosso because in the military the dog stays in the kennel. So it's
Sure.
not like he brought the dog home
Right.
and he was a used to being around the family. Now as a current active duty service member, his handler could still deploy. He could still do TDY missions for 60, 90 days. He could go 6 months overseas. And so, how is his wife and his 6-month-old child equipped to handle a dog that has a history of aggression who, unfortunately had a numerous unwarranted bites in his career amongst people and citizens, just situations he had got himself into. So he was deemed unadoptable by the government and he was
Mm.
scheduled to be euthanized. Luckily, the kennel master there reached out to Project Canine Hero, asked if we could help. I flew up to Spokane 2 Decembers ago myself, worked with the staff for a week, drove him all the way from Spokane back to Tennessee. And Rosso's living and thriving at 12 years old here today in our organization. That's just one example of many military working dogs that we've helped and how they find themselves in a situation at no fault of their own after serving our country. But, there's really no other programs in place to
Right.
help him.
Right. So when you do have dogs that are deemed unadoptable, do you keep them at Canine Hero to live out the rest of their lives? Is that how that works?
Well, we have 177 acres here. We have some temporary kennels, and we're building a permanent, larger rehabilitation rehoming center. We're working with some sponsors on now. And while that's being built, we can hold up to about 10 dogs here. And we try to get them to a level. We have a full-time veterinarian technician. We have behavioral specialists. We do, my background's in training military working dogs and police canines. We work with them to try to get them to an adoptable level. Uh, not every dog can get to that level. So we've had a lot of dogs come through here. Would be police canines and military working dogs. Just last month, we adopted out military working dog Reno, who came from Schofield Barracks in Hawaii. Uh, just to give you an example, his handler was a female handler, lived in the barracks. She was single in Hawaii. And when the dog retired, she would have loved to keep him, but military regulation states you cannot keep a dog in the barracks. Well, she's on a 3 or 2 or 3 year tour there. Buying a house is kind of unreasonable for an enlisted member of the Army in Hawaii for
Right.
someone who's going to be leaving. So she didn't have an option but to call an organization like ours to take him in, even though she wanted to keep her canine partner or her military working dog. So that's just an example of Reno, who we adopted out. He was very adoptable. He didn't have behavioral issues. He retired because of a medical issue. He had a severe skin allergy that didn't allow him to work or deploy. We're working with our medical staff. We have a doctor of veterinary medicine on board. Again, we have a full-time vet tech here 7 days a week. and we're working on getting him taken care of healthy. He's now with his adopted family out in Utah. They go on hikes. They run a fitness business, and he's with them every day out there. If anyone wants to follow him, it's Summa Fit on SUMMA Fit on Instagram. You can see Reno's journey every day. An example of a military working dog that we helped that was able to go out. And he was only 4 years old, so hopefully he's going to live a long time.
Wow.
Where Rosso, on the other hand, he is the safest here at our facility.
Mm.
Here he can't get himself in trouble. Here he's not going to bite anybody. Here he gets out and exercise and play on our large 177 acre land, and he loves it. So, we're trying to do right by each dog in each
Right.
individual case.
Right. I can see it's a case by case situation.
It
That's
is.
that's really wonderful. Okay, so let's get on to your item. I'm very excited to hear about your item, your
Yeah.
tactical treasure. Tell me
Yes,
about
ma'am.
that.
Yeah. So my tactical treasure is, and I have it right here, is this leash. And this is a leather leash. It's a 4-foot leather leash. And it's been all around the world with me.
Oh,
I
wow.
first got this leash a little over 20 years ago when I first started training my first narcotics dog, Justice. And I was working hard to become. I was at the police department, and I was wanting to become a police canine handler. And I worked with Justice with that leash, and then I went on to get my police canine partner, Flash. And I worked with Flash, and we worked on 2 drug task force, and we had hundreds of fines and hundreds of deployments until I left the police department. I went to Iraq in 2008. It journeyed with me there, where I worked 6 dogs in Iraq for the United States government, protecting everybody from the U.S. president and the ambassador on down. It was with me in Afghanistan, where I protected U.S. Ambassador Eikenberry, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton at the time, many foreign diplomats. That leash helped me protect their lives. And when I went to the ATF, where I helped train hundreds, if not thousands, police and military dogs with the FBI, the CIA, the U.S. Marshals, NGA, FEMA, and all branches of the military, I use this particular leash every day, and it's retired now. When Flash died on May 13th, 2019, I retired this leash, and I'm never going to use it again. And it sits here in her shadow box. It's in my office, and I actually have her badge here with me as well. And it sits there, and I'm glad it's retired. But that leash has so many miles on it, and I really can't even estimate the number of dogs that class has been hooked to. But
Wow.
I can tell you it's in the hundreds, if not thousands.
Wow. That's amazing. What a amazing treasure. And I think it's amazing that you retired it after Flash. That's
Yeah.
really very special. It's amazing that the leash has held up for 20 years, over
Yeah.
over thousands of
You can put
dogs.
oil on it, and you can do different things. It's just a good leather leash, and like I said, it's literally been around the world with me. It's one of those things that even when I went home on leave, if I was in Iraq or Afghanistan, I made sure this was in my backpack, and I never
Wow,
left it behind anywhere.
that's amazing. What an incredible story. So, what do you I hear you're working on something special right now.
Yeah, yeah, we're working
Tell
on a
me
lot of
about
things
it.
special. You're probably talking about our upcoming TV show. We're working on that, and obviously, we were trying to follow in your guys' footsteps, with your show, working with the same producer and things. And we're trying to do a show called Project Canine Hero, which is simply going to showcase dogs in our program, real life stories. Police canines, military working dog heroes. We're going to showcase what they did to protect our community, protect our nation. I would like to give you an example of Canine Chief, Moses Lake, Washington. 2 years ago, Chief was on a call with his handler, Nick, and as they get out to pursue a felony suspect wanting some armed robberies, he pulled a gun from his waistband and turned to fire at Nick from a short distance. And Chief jumped up, and he took that bullet right in his eye, and he
Oh,
stopped it from hitting Nick. And he went down, and the suspect was neutralized by the handler, and everything was okay. But when he went to render aid to Chief, he could see blood everywhere. And they had a medevac Chief to Washington State University Hospital in Pullman by helicopter. And a team of specialists worked on him. And just in a few days, they saved his life. And he to this day, if you look him up on our website, projectcanarehero.org, Chief, you'll see he's missing his eye. He had a shattered jaw, so he couldn't work in police work anymore. 3 months later, he was retired. And I worked with his agency. I talked to his captain. I had worked in Washington State as a police officer, so it was close to my heart. And we got chief in the program the day he retired, and now we take care of his medical bills for life. But I think in the show, when you talk about the story is going to be the heroism of Chief, how he saved his
Mhm.
handler's life, what he's dealing with today, how Project Canine Hero helps him with his medical care, and how the general public can help us take care of more heroes like Chief. And that's
Right.
what the show is all about.
Yeah. And that I think that's a great message too. I mean, dogs are such amazing, amazing animals. They are so loyal, so protective, and um, what an amazing story. And stories like that, I think, need to be told. And the only one of the ways to get that out is obviously a TV show. That makes total sense.
For sure.
I'm excited. I want to keep posted on that because I'm watching it. But I think it's a great message. I think America needs to know that there's an organization like yours, that is really doing amazing things with our canine and military working heroes, and retiring them properly how they deserve to be retired. So,
Yes,
really important. But I actually have in my notes here that you're working on something in Congress. Do you want to tell me
I am.
about that?
Yeah, I am. And we released it a few years ago with Congressman Ron Wright. It's called the Canine Hero Act. It's something I worked with his office on and wrote. And that is to create federal funding to help retired military working dogs and federal police canines with their medical care. So instead of having to take in donations, we can work through grant money through the government. So when we talk about military working dog Rosso, who's a military police or security forces, or military working dog Reno, who's a military police in the Army, or some of our federal police canines we have, that
Right.
bill will help us pay those medical costs dollar for dollar.
Okay.
Um, when we released it in initially, Congressman Ron Wright had brought it out to Congress, but he had passed away last year due to some complications of cancer and COVID. And unfortunately, when Congressman Ron Wright died, our bill died with it. So I went back to DC. I've rewritten it. I've tried to make some improvements. I've looked at some congressional members on both the Republican and Democratic side of the House. It's a very bipartisan bill. And we're just kind of waiting for the right time to re release it. As you know, in Washington, D.C. right now, there's a lot of things going on. And, we really need both parties, all of our elected officials, to be working together, because if I don't have support from both sides of the house, it's not going to go anywhere.
Sure.
And so I'm just kind of waiting right now for some things to die down, where
Mhm.
when we do release it, that Republicans are willing to support Democrats and Democrats are willing to support Republicans, regardless of what the bill is. If they find that it is something that can help, in this case, military working dogs and retired police canines, they're willing to put their name on. So I'm ready to go. I've had it out once, and I've had it out there, and we've had a lot of support for it one time. I've got to do it again, but you know what? That's just what life is, right, Tracy? We just
Yeah.
keep on working until we get it. And if it takes me 20 years to get this bill passed, that's fine. I'll just keep working every year until I do it.
Right. I hear you. It's an important bill, I think, very needed, um, and I really wish you luck with it. I hope you can get it through. Um, we kind of have an idea of working on something called the JDog Bill too, and that's kind of been in the works. And I have no idea if that is going to ever take off, but it's something again that we're thinking about and pounding the pavement on. And that bill in particular is kind of a maybe a redo or an addition to the GI Bill. We would
Well,
like service members, as they access their GI Bill, instead of, what if they don't want to go to college? What if they want to start a business? Right?
yeah, yeah, for sure.
It's, we look at it as it's, they've earned it. It's due them. Why does it just have to be for education? Why can't it be to start a business or start a JDog or, you
Yeah,
know?
I think we both know the entrepreneurial path is not an easy path.
It isn't.
So
It isn't.
if anyone could get help trying to better their life, and that's what we want for all veterans, right?
Right.
That's what your organization does. That's what my organization does.
Right.
A lot of people think Project Canine Hero is simply an organization to help dogs, and that's not true at all. Think about when we pay a $5,000 medical bill for a surgery. we're taking that financial burden off that military member or off that police officer, that first responder,
That
that they
correct.
were, they can spend on their children, they can spend on their spouse, they can spend on their mortgage, their
Right.
bills,
Mhm.
whatever it may be, but we're also helping them. And and obviously I'm very familiar with what your organization does. So,
Right.
I mean, our goal is just to help veterans, right?
Yeah.
It's to give them a better life.
Right. True. Well said. Well said. Well, it has been amazing speaking with you. Thank you so much for being on Tactical Treasures. And how could people find out more about Canine Hero, the TV show? Where can people find you?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd encourage everybody first and foremost to follow us on all forms of social media. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. It's just at Project Canine Hero. It's Project a K, the letter K, the number nine, and Hero. Check out our website, projectcaninehero.org. You can learn a lot about the stories of the dogs we talked about here on this program. You can check out our shop, which we have all kinds of things. I got some things behind me right here. We have our Axel Huggle Hound. We have our Flash Canine books. We have our REDD, Remember Every Dog Deployed line, shirts, hats, all kinds of things that can help support the organization, yet have some pretty cool stuff to wear.
Remember Every Dog Deployed. I love it. REDD,
Yeah,
right?
that's right.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow. That's awesome.
we actually trademarked this here, and that's something I'm trying to move forward with and work a little more with the Remember Every Dog Deployed REDD.
Wow.
Kind of like a Red Friday, right? But it's
Yeah.
for military
Yeah.
working dogs or dogs who are downrange, and
That's
that's
right.
just another thing that Project Canine Hero is involved with, and something that we try to get people to understand that it's more than just soldiers. It's
Mm,
more than just Marines and sailors and airmen.
right.
We have dogs out there too,
Yep.
and like you said earlier in the program, they deserve our support. They deserve to be treated just like the humans. And some people argue with
They
me on
do.
that, and I understand their take. But if you've ever served with a dog, whether it be in the police or the military, you know that they saved lives and they put their life on the line selflessly
Right.
to protect others without asking questions, without reservation. That's what they do, and they do it very well. And for that, I think we owe it to them.
Exactly. I totally agree with you 100% on that. Well, Jason, thank you so much again for taking the time to talk to us on Tactical Treasures. It's been awesome to hear everything that you're doing, and I wish you the best of luck and can't wait to hear more about that TV show and possibly see it on the air.
Thank you so much, and we appreciate all the support. And we look forward to seeing you very soon.
Yeah, you too. Take care, Jason. Thank you.
Thank you.